because of the, so they wanted to make it a blue ribbon.
Oh, it's
More Yukon.
I caught a few 19.
U-tards.
Well,
I mean,
or at least have some experience here, right?
That's cool.
We're in session.
Oh, it's
Boyd's, he had car trouble, so he's running late.
Okay.
He might get here, he might not. I think Katie had a conflict. I'm gonna be leaving in 15 minutes because I have another obligation.
You're welcome anytime.
saving some postage, it looks
Right,
like.
saving $1 here and $1 there.
Hey, might as well take advantage of
Darren,
it.
do you remember where we were?
Yeah, we got through to paragraph, we got to performance bond, section B. On page like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got through all those, but do we want to review anything that I changed before we move on?
So reviewing the red.
So I know Jason said, you know, in the red, when we originally did this, we wanted to avoid duplexes, so I didn't want to put shall contain a maximum number, a maximum of 4 units per townhome, because that would allow duplexes and potentially triplexes, not that anybody had built a triplex, but. So that's why I put, if you're doing a townhome, it's gotta be 4 units. We don't want anything more than that, we don't want anything less than that.
Sorry, I didn't fully
You
catch
want them to
why.
only be, or yeah, what was your, sorry.
Because we talked about it before, that we didn't want duplexes in these developments.
I struggle with it both ways. I don't see why we care if there's duplexes and I don't see why we care if there's 6
Help me
plexes.
out. What's the problem with duplexes?
They're,
I don't
stu-
remember
they're,
that.
they're stupid.
Well, give me a little more substance to your argument. I don't follow your logic.
We had a discussion early on in this that we didn't want duplexes in there. If it was gonna be high density, it had to be townhomes.
There's some really nice patios.
I don't
duplexes.
recall having strong feelings about that. I don't know who did.
Townhomes, just 2 duplexes together.
Yeah, they all literally.
It's just, it's just the
They're
name.
connected.
Yeah, there.
So if connected is all right, then connected is all right. And maybe it's like, we do say no more than 4 per plex.
Do we care about the duplex piece?
I do, but it's not up to me. It's up to.
He's not gonna
everybody.
move there, but
I know.
Yeah.
I just think of
I'm
like,
not
there's
gonna
some
live there. In
patio.
fact, I'm gonna move out because of the JDC ranch, but.
Yeah, that does look pretty bad.
there is an opportunity to look at what they bring in too, to kind of.
But a duplex is much closer to a single residence dwelling than a fourplex. So why would you object to a duplex? Help me out.
Well, if you looked at units and so forth, if you had 4plexes and they stacked them in there and they had a little bit more room they could fit a duplex in, they would put it there. And if not, we would get more open space, because we have to round
What if they
down.
decide, okay, instead of 2 fourplexes and a duplex, we'll put 2 5plexes? Would that make you feel happier?
No, because we said no 5plexes.
No, but
But they squeezed in, they did
the
less
point
open
is,
space and squeezed in
we've
3
already told them a
fourplexes.
minimum requirement for open space. Does it matter terribly how they configure the townhouses?
Just
I
maximize
was
the
just
number
going
of
back to the
connected.
discussion we had, like the first day that we met here, we talked about no duplexes.
Yeah, I'm indifferent on the duplex. I'm also very indifferent on there being more than 4 units, but I'm not gonna win that one.
Well, here's a compromise.
So let's just
And
do
we
max
say,
and then-
no more than 4, and we know that a DA can override everything.
Right, and that's all this is anyway, is a basic framework for these.
But it's a
guys.
base.
What would motivate a planner to put in a lot of duplexes rather than fourplexes?
It just depends what they're going for. I mean, like you
No,
could
I
think of like a
understand.
patio home community might be
But
more
a design, you
duplexy.
might need a duplex on the end or something, just.
What
because it
is the
doesn't-
least expensive to build? And that's what a developer's gonna look at. If the,
The market demand.
Yeah, they're gonna look at the market demand.
So let's just change it to a maximum of 4 for right now, and then we'll leave it at that.
For instance, there's some of those, as you're going towards North Ogden, you'll notice townhomes that are a wall of doors on this side. On the other side, those are connected. They look like houses.
Well, and those are I don't know what ones you're talking about, but there's some really nice fourplex patio homes that are like the fourplex that's like this, not in a
You
long.
almost don't know it's a fourplex.
Yeah, you don't. They don't look.
Yeah, I remember, do you remember when, Sugarfield Farms wanted to come in when we first started talking about this stuff? And they had those, it was a triplex. But what it was, it looked like one big house. There was a home here and a home here and a home upstairs. But it just looked like, for around here, an average house.
What's built out of green farms? I like the way those look out there.
Those are the four.
Those are the four.
Number 4, I think they've got some
Yeah.
6s out there too.
You can't tell.
You can.
That's the only thing
The thing is, I'm soured on everything because I look out at JDC Ranch every day off my back deck and I see that big 6-plex staring me right in the face. So it's.
I understand that. That makes sense.
If you don't tell
I
them the
understand
numbers,
the wall.
they
They're
may
into
not
the
build
wall.
something
Yeah.
that you like.
Okay, mine was
Sure.
a blank spot. But I don't want a wall.
So anyway.
No more than
No
4.
more than 4.
There you go.
If they want to just do 2,
And then,
that's just
and then if they
cute.
want to squeak it in like this other one and get it in the development agreement and approved, then that's fine too. But
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility in that part.
let's move on from that. And then there were just some words that we put in paragraph B, we put in public open space instead of just open space. We put in all of Katie's definition of,
Okay, that's what she said she wouldn't be here, but she wanted to ensure that we
It's all
made
in
sure it was
there.
public,
yeah.
or at least a good.
And then the 20%, we raised 15% to 20% in paragraph D.
Perfect.
We got rid of that buffer of being open space to just buffer has to be single family detached housing units along current residential developments. And then J, I added a little thing about a traffic study if need be at the discretion of the planning commission.
Before we go too far past this 20%, we talked about who is available, who can access.
That comes up
That's
later.
coming later. They
It's
got it
still
later.
gonna be there, okay.
Yeah,
Comes
it's
up
on the
later.
next
I
page.
didn't want to miss it. so.
Yeah, so then you go to J, let's see, and then you are in, if you go down in open space 3, it says a minimum of 50% of the open space must also remain accessible
There you
to the
go.
public. So that was talking about private reservations. They do private reservations, but they gotta leave 50% of it available to the public.
Can we go back to J? Wouldn't it be the public works engineer who requires a traffic study, not the planning commission?
No, because we don't, it would be maybe the engineer, like Matt.
No, it's-
Oh, yeah, not the public
City
works.
engineers At a planning commission for
But
traffic
who
study.
initiated?
Who initiates a traffic
And that's
study?
at the discretion
Well,
of
it could go both ways, because Matt could do his memo and say he requires it, and the planning commission could say they don't want it. So I would say both of them,
Planning commission and or city
Planning
engineer.
commission Or.
And/or.
and/or.
City engineer.
Yeah.
And also where it says when planning street layout, should put when planning the street layout or street layouts.
We put,
That's usually Lou's role,
I know.
and he didn't even crack a smile. There we go.
He didn't hear you.
I didn't hear you. I'm reading something else.
No, he got into some grammar, and I go, isn't that Lou's role?
No, I did, in J, I did insert a comma.
we have-
There's my guys.
In H, we put the or on between lawn, and we had lawn and appropriate plants. We changed it to lawn or appropriate plants back in H, because Lou pointed that out last time, that sometimes we might not want turf there,
I
so.
think that definitely needs to be done.
Otherwise matters these days.
I want to go back really quick on the examples of usable open space. Do we need to define parks better than just parks, or are we okay with?
I think Katie's done it down here. Open space must be accessible to residents.
Examples of
Okay.
She's
usable
got a long
parks,
list of-
playground, picnic area, walking and bike trails, community gardens, courts and sports and plazas and courtyards and gathering places and natural open space with designated trails or educational features.
No, I see all those, but the very first thing is parks, playgrounds, and picnic areas. I just wonder if parks is an open-ended definition, or if that's something we need to.
Where's that?
The very first one.
Examples of usable open
He was-
space.
We need to define parks, but park is a playground, picnic area, walking, bike.
I think those are just examples, so they
Yeah.
probably don't need to be defined.
That's good.
And does this include everything we want? I could put examples of usable open space, including but not limited to, and then this list, but.
I think it's common sense.
It's probably common sense.
Yeah.
These developers know what a park.
They know how to build a park.
Well, and with the understanding that what this allows is for the planning commission and city council to kind of go, this is what we're looking for.
If they read that list, they should walk away with a pretty good idea of what we
Yeah,
want.
well,
Besides that, our general plans, has the details in there.
That as well, yeah.
I guess my only thought on that was, does that mean that they can just put in a whole bunch of grass and no other?
if that's what we approve.
That's where the discretion of the commission can say, yeah.
You approve that?
I wouldn't approve it. I just, if we have it in code,
Maybe the kids can use
Well,
their
that's
own,
just an example, and then the development agreement.
let the kids use their
That'll
own
dictate
imagination.
the,
we have discretion to say, no, grass only isn't enough.
yeah,
Okay.
yep,
Unless it is enough.
right, unless in that case.
If, I just mean, if somebody comes in and they got 7 acres of grass, I'm like. you
Put
know,
a pickleball court, put a,
Put it out there?
right.
Sometimes it's okay.
Sometimes it isn't.
And they use
Be
this
nice
for
to have a
football
playground out there,
practice.
though.
And discretion, there has to be some discretion of the bodies.
But there is a volleyball court out there too.
I'm good with that. I just.
I've never seen anyone use.
It hasn't been used in decades, but we have one.
We're actually working on a disc golf course out there. So that's in the works right now, a disc golf
Par
course.
3,
What?
par 3 golf course out there.
I don't know how many holes
Some
it
might
is.
have to do par 5.
When you change it to a cemetery, we can still play frisbee golf out there.
A lot of hazards in there.
Just stick them on the headstones.
Multiple use.
You multi-use.
Taking this with me, but I gotta go.
Okay.
Carry on, enjoy yourselves. All
Thank
yours,
you.
man.
Thank
Eric.
you.
All right, so in B, performance bond, we came up with, the mayor actually helped us with this to determine who and what on this part of it, so. It says performance bond, in order to ensure that the planned development will be constructed to completion in an acceptable manner, the applicant shall post a cash bond or escrow account with the city recorder. The amount of the bond or escrow account shall be determined by the city engineer as an estimated cost of construction and installation of all required landscaping, parking, street improvements, including paving, curbs, sidewalks, water, sewer lines, parks, playgrounds, recreation facilities, and other amenities shown on the final development plan. Said applicant shall also file a schedule of anticipated completion dates for such improvements. In the event that improvements are not completed in a reasonable conformance with said schedule, the city may undertake to complete the improvements and pay for such improvements from the bond.
Was that from the mayor and Liam?
Yeah, well, not Liam, this came out of the thing, and then we had something else in there other than a bond, and Greg helped us with that, and the mayor helped us with who was responsible and how much we wanted to,
A letter of credit.
yeah, that had a letter of credit in there, we decided we didn't want a letter of credit.
Did Liam, cause.
Liam hasn't looked at this
Oh,
yet.
okay, yeah, cause Liam's gonna tell you gotta add the letter of credit. You have to have all 3 legally.
We can find it.
No, we can't. They just went through this with that big industrial over there. But Liam, yeah, but that actually wasn't what I was talking about, because Liam will vet all that.
Is that a state code that
Yes.
requires 3?
Yeah, you have to have their 3 acceptable, yeah.
A bond, escrow, or
Is there
letter of
something
credit.
other than a letter of
Is
credit
that-
to make the 3rd?
Okay,
Those
Because
are
that's-
the 3.
They're one of the hardest things
Cash
to
will work.
really enforce.
no,
They're
but do
all-
we, so we state 3 as a possibility. Can we impose one of them when we review the plan?
No,
So they can do it. We're
Yeah.
giving them permission to use a letter of credit. That's what we're doing in effect.
we have to ask Liam, but I'm pretty sure, so the warehouse over here, I'm almost positive they pushed back and did a letter of credit.
Let's not put it in there until
Yeah,
Liam.
no,
They're
that's
told
Liam,
we
that's
have to.
that's not actually what I was bringing up.
Yeah.
My other point to that was, this would be for public infrastructure only, because I think there is a knock on, I don't think you can make them bond for private.
No,
So this would have to be related to public infrastructure only. So any parks or roads that are gonna be private would not be in this bond.
So we can just put
the equipment you
public.
could put in there
What
to
if-
make sure that from parks, you could put the parks, I think you
You
could
can't
put the
even make-
parks. The equipment in a private park, I think you can add that, but it would be in the development agreement.
Yeah, maybe.
But that would also
maybe that,
attach
but I
to
know
the,
that
you could also attach the bonds to it.
And that
And it
piece
may
I
have
don't
changed,
know.
but I know that's what we used to do.
I just know they can't bond for improvements for private.
Well, yeah, for reserve park, but what if we put for public parks, playgrounds,
Oh, yeah,
recreation
for sure.
facilities and just put
And that's
public?
standard what the city does anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the private reservation part, of it, they can do whatever they.
We'll probably
Yeah.
want to, I think we ought to touch base with Liam on that though too,
For what?
just to double check. see-
Well, Liam will go.
No,
over
I
all
understand
this,
that.
yeah.
Are we still on talking about the bond?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He needs to look over that whole section, because that's very, very specific.
Yeah, because I think, again, it may have changed in the legislature, who knows, but I know you used to be able to bond for private.
Yeah, that's why I ask. I don't think you can.
I don't know, yeah.
But I don't know how it works when you're all in one piece and it's a PUD, maybe there's different.
Well, then
I don't know.
because it's mixed use.
Yeah, that I don't know, but Liam will look over that section.
All right, moving on, I'll just put a public remark in there for public parks, playgrounds, recreation facilities. Review procedure, application for a PD overlay zone designation shall follow the procedures listed in this ordinance. Preliminary development plan, all application for a PD overlay designation shall be accompanied by a preliminary development plan. The plan shall consist of the following: a complete and accurate legal description of the property proposed for the planned development, a tabulation of the total acreage of the site and the percentage thereof to be designated for parking, residential units, open space, streets, etc.
Why percentage of parking? That should just be a ratio.
Well, isn't a percentage a ratio?
Well, I guess, but, yes, that's true. That was really good. But usually it's like, 10 per thousand or 1 per thousand. It's not, you don't give a percentage of the space of parking.
Well, they're just gonna designate, they're just gonna show us on the preliminary plan where their parking is gonna be.
Okay, okay.
That's all I'm saying. Let's see, number 3, proposed circulation pattern, including private and public streets and pedestrian paths, parks, common open spaces, playgrounds, public facilities, and other improvements or amenities proposed within the plan development, general location of all dwelling and other structures in the development, and an indication of proposed population densities and building densities, units per acre, including percentages of each dwelling type being proposed, so single-family homes versus townhomes. Proposed location of parking and ingress and egress, a landscape plan showing what areas to be landscaped and what types of plants and materials are used, including sprinkler and irrigation systems, preliminary elevations or perspectives of all building types proposed within the development, preliminary subdivision plat if the site is being divided, showing a general layout of all proposed lots, a preliminary utility plan showing the manner in which adequate sewage disposal and water are to be provided to the sites, including the point from which said services are to be extended. Evidence that the applicant has sufficient control over the subject property to effectuate the proposed plan.
Can we stop there?
Uh-huh.
What does sufficient control mean? Usually we're at requiring ownership. That's a little loosey-goosey to me.
So when we did that lot down by and Geneva can speak to that. What's your development? Black Pine. So they didn't own all of that when we were working on that.
But it was
Yeah.
under contract.
So that's
Well,
kind
but
of,
we shouldn't have to worry about that, because when the application comes in, do an affidavit, so
No,
whoever's the
but
owner.
I just worry, sufficient control is a vague wording. What is sufficient? That's like the word pretty or ugly or anything else. I mean, it's subject to the interpretation of the reader, so.
I would probably just strike that, because the application will
We'll
clear
have
that.
control over,
Yeah, because the application has to be signed by the landowner or the agent, and if
Get
it's
rid of
by the
sufficient.
agent-
sufficient
has
is the thing that
control
bothered
over-
me, because it's kind of hedging a little bit.
that's not in any of our other procedures, and it's taken
No.
care of in the application. Because they either have to have
and we could strike that whole
I'll
paragraph
call it an affidavit.
or just get rid of sufficient, either way.
I'll just take it out. Because the application, like our rezone application, our preliminary site, or our site plan application, if you aren't, or even if you have it under, if it is not on Weber County as you have the affidavit signed for X, Y, and Z.
Okay, so everybody good just to
Just
strike
take
that?
11 out, yeah.
It doesn't,
Your
it's not
application
it's
can
not
have it.
useful, I think the way it's stated.
A draft of the declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions as required herein. A draft of the proposed development agreement. Other items that may be required by the planning commission. And then C, application and preliminary plan review. The planning commission shall review the application for a PD overlay zone designation and accompanying preliminary development plan. The planning commission shall approve, disapprove, or approve, subject to compliance with such modifications or conditions as may be deemed necessary to carry out the purposes of this ordinance and the preliminary plan. The approval of the preliminary plan shall be made only after the planning commission finds that, one,
Do we have to? Don't we just recommend for approval, or is this something we're actually going to be approving?
I'll approve that.
so this is preliminary plan. I don't know if
Right, but the
City
preliminary
council
plan
has
just
to-
did-
Does this go to the after we look through this, doesn't it go to the
this is
development
preliminary
committee?
plan review.
No, it's
No,
gotta
not
go
this.
to city council.
It might be
Yeah.
buried in here down later
Yeah,
on,
I thought we
so.
caught that. Approve, disapprove. Oh, the planning commission shall recommend.
The city council shall review the application,
Anyway.
preliminary development plan, it's right there, or E.
Yeah,
I'm confused. What is
It also under D says we're
application
making
prelim
recommendations.
review
rather than-
plan versus the preliminary development plan?
We approve or disapprove though. First.
For
part of
compliance
C.
right here. Approve, disapprove, or approve, subject to compliance with such
Whereas
modifications.
what we did last time with like Legends is that we recommended approval or denial, right?
Yeah, I probably should say the planning commission shall recommend approval
Denial.
with such modifications or conditions as may deem necessary to carry out the purpose of the ordinance and the preliminary.
that
plan
comes
of
out
the
in
city
D and E.
council.
That comes down in D and E.
That's what I thought when I
Once this plan review is approved by the city or the planning commission, then it goes to E, to city council review
Okay.
or application, I guess.
See,
You guys
it
will have
says,
to do
based on its
prelim to
action with
us.
the preliminary development plan, the planning commission shall then. So I think it implies that we're not making the final decision up there. Here, we're deciding whether it goes to the city council or we reject it.
Yeah, after we go through points 1 through 5, that's
That's
the
correct.
determining factor, yeah.
Okay.
So one, that
That
the,
is complete all applications. So preliminary development plan, application and prelim plan review.
so then
What's the
they're doing their
difference?
application now.
Okay, so is there an application with the prelim development plan though? Cause there has to be, it says all applications shall be designed to accompany the prelim development plan. So is it one application or are we intending it for it to be two?
No, just one application.
So why, shouldn't it just be then preliminary plan review should be C? Cause they're gonna fill out the application in the preliminary development plan.
So do we want to remove review procedure later on and then put application procedure first?
Okay.
Why am I confused?
No, we trying to separate two things, the PD overlay zone designation and the preliminary development plan. Are those two separate documents? or
Oh,
one
I
and
guess
the
you're
same?
saying A is the application, B, all applications shall look like this, C.
Preliminary development
I
plan,
think C just needs, I just think it needs to be prelim plan review,
right, that's fine.
cause reading that makes me think.
Because
I
we're not
gotta
gonna
fill out
review the application as planning commission, right?
No. I mean, we'll review the documents, the meat of it, I guess.
That was just, yeah, review of the application, the
Okay,
preliminary
sorry.
plan.
We haven't looked at this in a while.
Yeah, so let's see, so we're down to one, the proposed development will provide a more beneficial environment than a conventional residential development established under the provisions of the current underlying residential zone, that the proposed development will not be detrimental to adjacent properties and to the general area in which it is located, and that it will be in substantial harmony with the character of existing development in the area. That the development project will provide more efficient use of the land and more usable open space than a conventional development permitted by the residential zone. That increased densities allowed within the proposed development will be compensated by better site design and by the provision of increased amenities and recreational facilities. that any variation allowed from the development standard of the residential zone will not increase hazards to the health, safety, or general welfare of the residents of the proposed planned development or adjacent areas.
I really
So
like
that's
this.
stuff that we review.
Yeah, and I like this piece. I think it reiterates the whole purpose for this and the constraints placed upon them when they attempt to do it.
Right.
Or the expectation, I guess, would be a better term.
Yeah, but then after we review all that, it's based on the action within the preliminary development plan. The planning commission shall then recommend to the city council either approval or denial of the PD overlay zone designation on the applicant's property. Then E, the city council shall review the application and preliminary development plan and either approve or deny the PD overlay zone designation for the proposed development. We want to get rid of application in that sentence. The city council shall review just the preliminary development plan, or do we want to leave the application in there?
We decided it would already have been approved at the point the application itself.
No, this is the application, this is the preliminary plan review and acceptance of the
So
application.
you took it out of your
You
title,
took-
you just want to
you
take it
gotta
out of
see.
that.
We could take it out of that, yeah.
The word application.
City council shall review the preliminary development plan. Okay. Final plans for plan development. Final plan development plan shall contain the following. Oh, I got to
Yeah,
change my
we did.
numbering. My one fell apart. My one fell off. Tabulations of all dwelling units to be constructed by types. Detailed site plan with complete dimensions showing precise location of all buildings and structures, lot or parcel sizes and location, designations of common open spaces and special use areas, detailed circulation pattern, including proposed ownership and typical cross-section of streets. Final exterior design for all building types presented as exterior perspectives or exterior elevations.
Can we talk about that? How specific is that?
So it's
We
kind
don't,
of,
we don't require that for any residential zone development, the exterior design of the buildings.
when they've come in and shown us like outdoor
We have never
elevations and stuff.
required it in a residential zone.
Well, he's talking like the mixed use.
No,
They
I'm
gave
just
us
talking about in
elevations.
a residential zone. Do we state that they have to come in and show us what the exterior design of the building is gonna
I would
be?
take it out.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, we don't do that as a
But if
routine.
you're requiring CCNRs, then the details are probably in those.
No, but it's just inconsistent where you can put it there. I'm just saying, what's your expectation?
What do we want to see? What kind of product they're putting
Yeah.
in there? That's what we want to see.
I think, Lou.
When it's the final exterior design, they're gonna argue, well, we don't know
I
exactly
was gonna say,
what
can
color
you
the
put
brick is, where it's
concepts?
gonna be stucco or paneling or.
Can you do
You see
concept?
what I'm getting at? I mean, that gets pretty darn specific, and I'm thinking they're not gonna want.
We give an exterior design concept.
Well, that's a lot
Everyone that's
different.
come in, everyone that's come in has showed us that.
Yeah, do a
That's different
concept,
than the
yeah.
design. The design suggests a lot more detail than I think we're.
If you just put final concept,
Exterior design concept for all building types presented as exterior perspectives or exterior elevations.
Yeah, as long as you put concept in it, it'll be exactly like Legends. They have,
Well, that's,
Concepts of what they
you
intend.
understand my problem with design. It gets at some of that stuff we
Yes.
had
Well,
on
and they're-
2700 North,
they're
where
not
they were
going to
talking
know.
about what the facade looks like and the
Yeah.
exterior building.
Especially the
type.
residential stuff, the
That's-
single family, they're,
Single family is hard to do,
Yeah.
but
but they can do
the
concepts.
townhomes, yeah, they can do concepts.
Yeah.
If they're adding fourplexes and stuff like that into this.
Yeah, we'd like to see the,
Yeah, they get to
see
do
the
a concept.
concept of how.
No,
what they're
I'm
doing.
not talking about the design. It's just the details of the,
Well, they're gonna
I-
have to
I'm-
build
I'm comfortable
plans
with what you said
to
here.
build a Barbie house.
Yeah,
We want it to be.
we want to show, see kind of, we
We'll
want
have
to see kind of what it looks like, a
concepts. We won't
concept
see
of what it.
building plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see elevations, basically of what they
it's
intend.
just that when you say the final design,
Yeah, let's just
that's
take it
getting
out.
pretty specific.
Concepts for each building type presented
Exterior
as
design
exterior.
concept,
Got no
Yeah.
problem with that.
okay. Or detailed land, do we need detailed landscaping plans at this point too, or just landscaping
Final,
plans?
yeah.
Okay, so detailed landscaping plans which show the types and sizes of all plant materials and their locations, decorative materials, recreation equipment, and sprinkler or irrigation systems. Landscape planning shall be accomplished by keeping water conservation in mind. Dimension parking layout showing location of individual parking stalls in all areas of ingress or egress.
Can I make a suggestion? Sorry, don't mean to jump back here. But in order to be consistent with the state of Utah and every other place, instead of water conservation in mind, how about low impact development standards?
Well, they already have to do LID.
Well, I get that.
Again,
What do you want to put?
Low impact development, LID.
What
What
does
do you
that
prefer?
mean?
You're the water guy.
How do you?
I prefer
Where do you
keeping
put
water
that?
conservation.
Yeah, that's clear to me the more you just
Like,
said.
I don't know what you're talking about, so,
Huh?
I don't know what
well,
LID is.
relative to the landscape plan, you're not really LID. That's more of like your,
Stormwater.
yeah, your stormwater. So I would leave it.
Like
In accordance with.
sprinklers, drip systems, that sort of
Yeah,
thing. That's
I
what
think
this
they're
is.
fine. Yeah.
LID, it's more stormwater stuff.
Yeah. And it happens to fall into landscaping a lot of times. So
Yeah.
that's what he's referring to. No, I think
Do we
it's
want to add anything in there for LID or just?
no,
put-
because it's not meant to be in the landscape section.
All right. Dimension parking layout showing location of individual parking stalls in all areas of ingress, egress, detailed engineering plans or final subdivision plat showing site grading, street improvements, drainage and public utility locations. Also submission of engineering feasibility studies if required by the city engineer. The fully executed declaration of covenants, conditions and restrictions together with open space easements and other bonds, guarantees or agreements as required herein or as deemed necessary by the city attorney.
The only thing I don't like there is fully, I guess you could have fully executed, but it wouldn't be recorded. Because I can tell you, I'm not recording CCNRs if I don't have a final approval. I probably actually can't.
How about the declaration of covenants rather than the fully executed?
Yes, or the final copy, the final draft, final.
Final draft of covenants,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm actually even curious to see what Liam says on that. I don't know that, because CCNRs aren't docs that the city can enforce.
Okay.
I don't know that we even get involved in the CCNRs.
If he says, let's strike it, and we'll do that at that point.
The city doesn't enforce those?
No,
we don't.
homeowners.
If it's allowed though, I like this to be here.
I mean, it can be, yeah, no. so the
It's
city
good to
cannot
know
enforce
it's in
CCNRs.
place.
You don't have an HOA and you have CCNRs, what does that mean?
Nothing, it means your neighbor can sue you and that's about it.
That's it.
And if you have,
Yeah.
yeah, and even if you have an HOA and have CCNRs, the same thing, the neighbor would have to go after you.
And if they haven't been enforced for over a year, they're defunct.
Really?
Mm-hmm,
It's a weird.
My house would be totally
Really?
different now.
yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard the year defunct thing, but.
Yeah, so after a year, if you don't have regular meetings and stuff to enforce the CCNRs, after a year, they're gone.
Maybe if you have an HOA, but like Mountain View's CCNRs, they're still intact and they don't have a governing board.
But nobody enforces them either.
Well, but they do still check them, like they're still an active CCNRs. Yeah, they're recorded on the deed.
Well, that's true. Mine are. I get that.
Everyone's is, yeah.
But nobody builds to it.
Well, no, exactly. It doesn't- Then the problem comes if someone goes against them, who's fighting them? It's a homeowner. So yeah,
Basically, after a year, they come defunct.
I wouldn't say that, but.
That's typically the end result, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
typically
true
nothing
wars.
happens, but, yeah.
In 7. Okay, street improvements, and then LID drainage.
Well, don't do that. Don't.
Well, LID's gotta be part of somewhere in here.
Well, no, this is our application and ordinance. LID is a public works
Well,
engineering thing.
Yeah. I don't think we have LID in anything else. that
No.
we've got.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't, not in our
Everything I look at is
ordinances.
LID.
In the public works standards, yes. Yeah, not our ordinances. We don't, that's engineer and that's Nate. I know, sorry. Drainage is good. And you can do storm water management if you wanted. However you want to do it, but.
Street improvement, yeah. Put
It's fine.
stormwater management instead of
Stormwater
drainage.
management in there, we'll throw that in there.
That I can live with.
Win for me.
Give the man a bone, please.
All right. We'll get it in there,
Are we
Greg, for
keeping
you.
score?
Yeah.
SWM.
Down 500, up 1.
Yeah, I'll take one.
It's an important one.
Number 9, a time schedule for the completion of landscaping, parking, street improvements, and other improvements and amenities.
The only thing I don't love about this, I would almost say tentative time schedule.
Yeah, because
You have a strong aversion for
I do.
phase
I
schedule,
know.
and I
Because you
have
guys-
the opposite of
Because
that.
you guys don't work in the real world.
Well,
I work in the real world.
But
of-
we are in the real world of the victims.
No, but listen, the real world is market changes, economy crashes, people don't build. Like real world scenarios now make a project that could have swung a swing. Now it's defunct and the city takes it over, which sucks. So giving the developer a way to be able to swing through those is a much more manageable process and beneficial to the city than it is to cause something to be defunct.
Okay.
Definition of time schedule is only a guide.
Well, that's it. As long as it's a guide. It's not a, gosh, if you're not on phase 2 in 2026, you're done. It has to be, that's why I say tentative. It has to be a tentative with flexibility that, gosh, if the market goes, say next year, say they've given their schedule of the first 2 phases are townhomes, because right now townhomes are really hot. And the next phase is single family and the market goes single
Let's
family.
work on something stronger than tentative.
Well, I'm just saying there has to
Put
be.
a
it has to
proposed
be
time
flexible.
schedule.
But realistically,
There you go.
realistically,
That's good.
what did he say?
Proposed and tentative are the same word.
No, they aren't. No, you could read, tentative could read into, you could move away. Proposed is, I've got to make
Okay.
at least a commitment. It's not cast in cement,
As
but
long as
I'm
it's not
making a
cast.
commitment.
Yes,
We're not talking about cement here, but we're talking about a commitment.
I'm fine with proposed.
We can add proposed in there, but realistically, when has any developer ever met their schedule? It's like, if you put a time schedule, you know that it's gonna,
Except
thing
that
you
you
want
want to
to
have a
encourage
discussion
cities
with the developer
Yeah.
every single time.
All because they didn't give the developer
You know,
The
flexibility.
biggest thing,
I agree with you on that.
I think the biggest thing you want to do is set up timelines for like parks,
yeah,
okay, or amenities.
yeah. They have to
Because
go in.
if all of a sudden they build 300 homes
Yeah,
You know?
and they wait for the park till the very end, what good is it for the first 100?
That's where
That's why you need
concurrence
to
is
have
important.
a proposed time schedule to look at so that you can go back and say, you said you were gonna do amenities before you finished.
another say,
And
we
you haven't
propose
yet.
doing that, but.
Proposed, but that's where, so proposed phasing, that's
Yeah.
where your development agreement needs to be stronger and say that you need to have X amount of amenities in before you hit 100 homes.
And that's-
Make it that way instead of, gosh, if you don't hit this phase, you screw this one. Like, make it something like that. 100 houses, you have to
Yeah,
have
something like-
25% of the open space in.
You
Yeah.
can't start phase 3.
The one
until
thing,
you've got-
one thing about this ordinance is it's just a general framework of them to build their development agreement on. We don't have to be so specific about everything in this,
So say
because the
proposed.
specifics are going to be
But
elsewhere, so.
I agree, you don't need to tell them on date X it has to be done. I
Yeah.
agree with that. Say nothing though, I don't like either. I
Yeah,
think
we need a time schedule.
So I would say a proposed
Yep, so
phasing.
I've got that. I'm just gonna put a proposed,
I don't like time schedule. That's stupid. Phasing.
I'm gonna put just a proposed schedule for the completion of landscaping with a grid
I
time.
think phasing, because phasing
Concurrent
incorporates.
Hey,
amenities
you
and
got
things
her to
like that.
agree to phasing. Take it.
Yeah.
Schedule/phasing.
I just don't like schedule because schedule is relative to time. Phasing is relative to amenities and density.
Proposed phasing schedule.
You can
Okay.
change it when it gets city council.
The last minute.
Phasing means more in my eyes than time or schedule.
And then number 10, final draft of the development agreement for the PD overlay. And
A
then,
lot of steps in this.
last page, final plan review. The planning commission shall review the submitted final plan. Planning commission shall approve the final plan only after it is found the following: the proposed development meets all the requirements, objectives, purposes, and standards of the PD zone regulations and of the residential zone. The proposed development and development agreement does not significantly deviate. Here's another significantly. What is significantly? deviate from the approved preliminary plan.
Does not deviate more than 20%, does not
No.
deviate more
Well,
than.
just significantly is fine.
Significant.
Okay, you wanna leave it?
And if there's.
This is
lot of
funny that I'm
changes-
saying that, because most cities will have a percentage that it can't deviate. But this is much
How would you
different.
measure a
Yeah, when you
percentage?
measure a percentage, that they're
That's the
deviating
same.
20%.
Okay, let's leave it. I'm great with it. I just got a lot of heat in the last meeting because some people don't understand what a concept is. Okay, I'm looking at little Greg, but really I should be looking at big Greg. Okay, I'm just kidding.
Greg understands concept.
PD overlay is already deviating from the initial.
Yeah, it
ordinance.
is. It is. Yeah, so I think we just leave it as is, significantly deviate from the approved preliminary plan. Okay, the planning commission may impose conditions on the approval of the final development plans as are deemed appropriate to comply with this ordinance. So if they miss something in this ordinance and we say, hey, you missed this, we can go back and hold them to it. Final approval of the planned PD overlay development is made by the city council upon recommendation by the planning commission. Building permit, I don't know if we need any of this stuff, but no building permit for any portion of the plan development shall be issued until the final plan development plans have been approved and all necessary requirements have been met. Phased final plans. Final plan development plans for an approved preliminary plan may be submitted in phases.
Or shouldn't it be final plan?
Final,
Because they'll do an overall preliminary and then they'll come in for phases of final.
let's see, final plan development plans for an approved. Oh, so this is just, so this is final plan development plans for an approved preliminary plan.
That's because, what the heck is that?
Why don't you just take out the word plan?
This is out of Clearfield's thing, so
They-
I think they said, okay, you got the final now, you have the preliminary plan, and you have the final plan, and now
Well, you should have an overall.
you can break it up, you can break up that preliminary plan into phases now.
Yeah, so it
That's
should say
basically
that-
what it says.
It should, okay, so the final version of the preliminary, the overall plan.
So when they come in, they don't have phases, they have the whole plan in front of us. And then when they come in now, they want to break it up into phases.
So maybe you say the overall plan development comes in. I don't
What if you
know,
just
actually
take
don't
out the
know
word
what that
plan
says.
and put final development plans?
Well, no, because it's not the final, that's not the
Oh,
problem.
that's true.
It's
Well-
the prelim is in there again.
Final plan development for an approved, the final development plans, get rid of planned in there. Final development plans for an approved.
Take out preliminary what are we trying to do in
You're
that?
not-
So
we're
we're
not
taking
doing-
the preliminary
All we're trying
plan,
to say is
we're
you
taking
can
the
do it in
preliminary plan, now we're
phases.
breaking it down into phases for the final plan.
To me, it's,
Say after final plan review, developer may, I don't know, I feel like that's assumed, so maybe just take it out.
Let's see.
I understand what you're trying to say, but.
Final plans may be submitted in phases.
that's,
Final plat reviews shall be
Final
submitted.
final plan may be submitted in phases.
There you go, fine.
yes, say that.
Yeah,
No, I mean, you know you're going
Yeah.
two steps.
You're saying-
Get rid of that. Final
Yeah.
plan may be submitted in phases, provided each such phase can exist as a separate unit capable of independently meeting all the requirements and standards of this ordinance and of the residential.
Wonderful.
So that gets us the part we were talking about before, where they can't come in and build all the houses but forget the amenities, right? They have to do the
Yeah.
amenities.
Yeah.
So,
They've got to do, that's where we can hold them to the amenities. We can say, okay, yeah, phase one, you're gonna do this amenity. Phase two, you're gonna do this amenity. So, all right, and then the fees, I don't know if we even need fees. All phases of plan development approval shall be accompanied by the appropriate fees.
Just take it out.
Because they're gonna pay the fees.
Yeah, fees
By
anyway.
by this time, they're gonna have paid all their fees most
We
likely.
don't go into that and anything else in our.
Yeah, I just take it out.
We'll leave that up to the
Yeah,
legal side. Just-
all right. I'll get that done up and sent out the draft and then, I don't know if you wanna run it by Liam
Yeah.
and let him run through it.
I'll probably have some comments.
And then I sent a PDF, but I'll send you the Word version.
Yeah.
Just let Liam
Liam,
mark
yeah.
that up however he
Yeah, let
wants.
me do the word version, yep.
Yeah,
When you talk to Lynn.
Yeah.
Clarify private.
Yeah.
Bonding for the private.
Well, yeah, that's, I'll highlight a couple sections that we have questions on.
I'm not so worried about the streets, because we're gonna have to put the streets in anyway, but the amenities.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's where I don't think
And
we
the
have any
landscaping.
teeth.
And the private reservation of the amenities, some of them they can and some of them they've got to make public, so. At least 50% public.
Right, so that's just a clarification from the attorney.
So we paid for,
Oh, I know where I used to work, we used to bond for private. But I don't know if it's been 3 years. So I don't know if things have changed. So I found that out, because my wife says, it's been 3 years since you retired. Woo-hoo! How long ago did you retire?
huh?
How long ago did you retire?
I retired.
Anything
20
for
years
you
ago.
guys? I
Good for
mean,
you.
And the neat thing is.
We'll send out the
every
reminder.
10 years, I will retire as long as I.
no, I just mean any questions, concern, anything.
The university had an early retirement
It's a little
incentive
refined, but at least you guys know
that
what's going on.
basically when I retired.
This
I was
is-
receiving the same income
I will say
for all
this.
purposes.
This
It wasn't
is,
taken out
now that
Social
we've gone
Security
through
and all
it,
that stuff.
about
And they
two
carried
hundred
on
and
the
fifty
university
percent better than our
insurance and all
original
that.
PD overlay plan.
Yeah, that little
20
one
years
page
ago.
thing that somebody pulled out of somewhere and just, here it is.
That was a joke. This
Really,
is,
even like what the thing it came on, it looked like it was just pulled from somewhere.
this is a very realistic plan.
They eliminated hours too.
Probably needed today's.
I waited until the very last year. and then
The
they
part is,
said,
I think
"No
as a
more."
developer,
And
you
the
want to see a lot.
rationale is, the old professors are
Not
paying
even
a lot
on a little
more
bit bigger
than the
parcel?
new professors for
I
their
think-
salary,
Yeah.
that's true.
Taking my
Startup
planning
package
commission.
for the new professors
Well, let's be done with
was enormous.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it was costing
Yeah,
them
are we
more
done? Are we done?
New
getting an
professors.
assistant professor
Yeah.
than to have a full.
Hold on, press end.
And
And then you gotta be careful, because the other one's recording.
Okay. The startup
And-
package for the new guy